The state's governor has sent an expensive high-speed rail project into disarray. If California can't build it, who can? Fresno, California, in a neighborhood littered with derelict warehouses, Miguel Arias pointed to a wide strip of dirt where California's high-speed rail, one of America's most ambitious and divisive infrastructure projects, has been taking shape. The son of Mexican farmworkers and a newly elected member to the city council in this sprawling Central Valley city, Mr. Arias is hoping the train will deliver to Fresno the California dream that long ago bypassed the impoverished region. "We've been feeding the nation for decades and now we have a chance to feed ourselves," Mr. Arias said. This will be the first step into the middle class. But California's newly installed governor, Gavin Newsom, in his first major address to lawmakers this month, sent the project into disarray. The governor announced that the project, which was expected to connect the Central Valley to Silicon Valley, would be dramatically scaled back because of exorbitant costs. For now, the train would begin and end in the Central Valley, the governor said, making no mention of a connection to the coast, where most of the region's people and opportunities reside. Mr. Newsom has since sought to walk back his remarks. But the portion of the rail line to Silicon Valley is still underfunded by at least $9 billion, and the governor's comments have prompted deeper questions about America's ability to think big and work together on complex public works projects, an area that seemed to have bipartisan support during the last presidential election before it was perennially deferred. If anything, the confusion and recriminations over high-speed rail seem to show that the nation's partisan divide extends to infrastructure. Mr. Newsom's speech led to a spirited Twitter exchange with President Trump, which then devolved into a much more serious, and for California a potentially financially calamitous, dispute over funding. The Trump administration has canceled or is trying to claw back as much as $3.5 billion in federal allocations from California. For Mr. Newsom, who has been governor less than 2 months, the rail episode was a searing introduction to the combative national political scene in the Trump era. The California media called the governor's position incomprehensible, critics called the project a train to nowhere, and a cartoon mockingly portrayed a high-speed train full of cows. "He pretty much killed the project with that speech," said Ray LaHood, who served as transportation secretary in the Obama administration. "I was shocked. It was very short-sighted and no vision for rail." Although California's project has gotten the most attention, other states are considering high-speed rail projects. Governor Jay Inslee of Washington has proposed an international high-speed line that would connect Vancouver to Seattle and Portland. Private investors are pushing for a train that would link Dallas to Houston. But no other project is further along than California's. Mr. Newsom campaigned on a vow to tackle the state's extreme inequality. But his high-speed rail position seemed, if anything, to highlight that California's new divide is between East and West, more than North and South. Of any state in the Union, California might seem best positioned to carry out big infrastructure projects, flush with revenues. The state is controlled by a single political party, and its citizens regularly vote to raise their own taxes for a variety of projects and government services. California built the world's greatest water conveyance system, one of the great highway systems, a great university system, said Dan Richard, who stepped down as chairman of the Rail Project's board of directors on Tuesday. "When did we lose our confidence in our ability to do this stuff?" Even before Mr. Newsom's comments, the project was troubled by repeated delays and cost overruns. The overall cost, estimated at around $45 billion when financing was approved by voters a decade ago, has now swelled to as much as $98 billion. California's High-Speed Rail Authority, which is running the project, was established 23 years ago. During that time China has built 16,000 miles of high-speed rail. The first phase of California's project, 119 miles through the Central Valley, will not be completed until 2022. Even if it does continue, the project is likely to face more legal challenges and opposition. Though surveys suggest it still has majority support, especially among younger voters, many in the state, particularly in Republican pockets, oppose it. "I think high-speed rail is dead in California in this form," said Representative Kevin McCarthy, the Republican who represents Bakersfield. The governor's own words rightfully acknowledged, "This costs too much and has taken too long." But the project also has some disinterested skeptics who say they are not convinced that it made economic sense in the first place. I am a huge fan of infrastructure investment for many reasons, said Lawrence H. Summers, who served as Treasury Secretary under President Bill Clinton. But in the case of California high-speed rail, I am very skeptical as to whether the numbers work in terms of the benefits exceeding the cost. The places where high-speed rail has been most successful, Mr. Summers notes, in Asia and Europe, are more densely populated and therefore more conducive. America is a largely suburban nation where most commuters drive to work alone. America is the land of sprawl, he said.